What's going on, everybody? This is James, aka Kluya. Usually I'm doing FFTCG coverage with Cards of Ivalice on my WordPress, but wanted to do something a little different. You're probably asking, like, why would he be doing this kind of video? And that is because Final Fantasy IV, which I'm playing the American Final Fantasy II version on the Super Nintendo, is kind of what got me into Final Fantasy. So I was going to do a playthrough, do a little commentary, maybe bring up some relevance to the card game, give a little history, but basically, yeah, this was the first game for me. I'm guessing too young for the original Final Fantasy on the Nintendo, and basically, one day I went to my local video store. I believe it was called Take One Video. This was when I was growing up in Brooklyn. I was 7 years old, and I think I was looking for UN Squadron. It's like a Capcom airplane shooter game based on an arcade game, but they didn't have it in, so I saw the box for Final Fantasy. Well, it said Final Fantasy II, and the sword looked awesome, and on the back of the box it just talked about wizards and knights and all that good stuff. So I decided to give it a try, and it was pretty crazy how that started my whole obsession with, the whole Final Fantasy franchise. And I mean, I'm still playing the games to these days, still playing FF14. Just did a playthrough of War of the Lions not too long ago for like the 10th time. But yeah, with this playthrough, I'll do some, I'm going to do a typical playthrough, but I'm not speed running it. And there will be parts where I need to grind to level up, which I am using an emulator, so I will kind of fast forward to that stuff, put the game on like 4 speed or whatever it does. But it should be pretty interesting, and when something happens related to the card game that I could randomly reference, I think I'll do that. But with this being my first Final Fantasy game, Cecil, or Cecil, but I usually call him Cecil, he's one of my favorite characters. I think he's definitely one of the stronger protagonists throughout the Final Fantasy series. And of course, with that, I really like Dark Knights, especially in like Final Fantasy 11 and 14, even though they kind of play different roles. But yeah, I always thought it was interesting that he's the captain of the Red Wings, which instantly, brought up Star Wars, which this series tends to do. And then we have our first fight, which is pretty much just showing you like what the combat looks like. Although when I was first playing this, I was freaking out and had no idea why there were numbers flashing next to the monsters, and it's pretty crazy. Now, I've also played the Game Boy Advance version, which had a better English translation. My favorite version, which is the PSP Vita version, I kind of see that as like the definitive, like perfected version of this game, and the 3DS version. So you'll definitely notice in this one, the translations tend to be a little rough. Sometimes they'll say something and, like, instead of meteor, it's meteo, or sometimes it doesn't really make much sense, but the story is still pretty cohesive, so you just make the best out of it. And then we approach the first castle/town in the game, which is Baron. I always thought it was cool that you weren't just like some nobody. You're the captain of the Red Wings. You're a pretty powerful Dark Knight for the kingdom. Although that doesn't seem to last very long because you talk to the king in just a sec and things go awry rather quickly. Now, before this, I had played sort of puzzle adventure games. I don't know what you would categorize them as, but if you've ever heard of King's Quest, which was a series that Sierra developed way back when for like the IBM and the Tandy computers and all that. I think they eventually ported it to like the Nintendo and stuff like that, but those were the only adventure games I knew of. And then here comes a game for a console, and it's got all this character development and dialogue. It was kind of a new thing. But let's just get through this. Yeah, and I remember when I started this game out, this part threw me off pretty heavy-handedly because it's the first time you're seeing the king, and you basically immediately piss him off, so... But even right here, like the music starts kicking in, and I mean, I was a 7-year-old. It was, it was pretty emotional having all that tie together, especially when you're used to playing like Final Fight or, you know, Mario Brothers or something like that in comparison. And then Kane Highwind shows up, who I always kind of compared, like, they always seem just like such an iconic duo, and it's kind of like Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter, which really solidified later on when you beat the game, and Ken is standing, I think it's Mount Ordeals, and he's got this long blonde hair that's just blowing in the wind, and just that really solidified the whole Ken part. A new concept that also came along with this, which just happened right now, was in the older adventure games I played, you were basically always by yourself. And in this, they immediately throw Kane in, and so now you have a party. That was like a whole new concept to me as well. So it was pretty cool. So I just, for the first time, got control of this. Now, you can only walk in this. In like pretty much all the other versions, you can sprint or you can run. I can speed it up like this. There's a few goodies that I can pick up around the castle before we head out. It's these 3 chests here. Can't remember if there's like tents or potions. What are in here? Yeah. Yeah, not potions, a cure 1. Alright. Let's go up here. Here, and then we're introduced to Rosa, who is your main healer of the game, and she's Cecil's love interest. Now, didn't really put this together early on because this was the first RPG I had played, but one thing I really appreciate about this is that compared to a lot of JRPGs and animes and all that stuff, the relationship is pretty much thrown out there as a real relationship. They're together. They believe in each other. It's not a very cryptic or constantly hinted at scenario, and it's something I appreciate because it gets kind of old when you obviously know they're going to get together, but they hint at it for like 30 hours of the game, and you're just like, you know, the world's ending, you might as well just say something. And then we're introduced to Sid, who is the airship technician or engineer for Baron. And he's pretty pissed off that you're not the captain of the Red Wings anymore. And I believe he just referenced his daughter, who I think comes into play in the after years. Let's see. So then we do this scene. Let me check this pot. We do this scene, which is kind of the last part before you actually set out on your adventure and you have free roam over the world map and start leveling and going out. I always like that little clock noise in the background. That is the love theme for Final Fantasy IV playing. Really iconic song. We went to Distant Worlds for the second time last year, and this was played. It sounded absolutely amazing in person. Now, I was talking about the relationship between Cecil and Rosa. That does reflect in the card game. There is a Rosa in Opus 5, I think. I believe she's a hero of the water element, and she buffs his health, which is a huge thing because other than the Dark Knight versions, the water versions are basically paladins. They tank spells, they pretty much have the taunt feature, and they buff the other characters. So for him to be able to ignore summon damage and ability damage, and then have his health increased by a large chunk, I don't remember what it was, it's like 3 or 4k, they work as a team really well, which I appreciate the link they did there. And then we have our exciting beginning of our journey. Kind of like their Kane said, pretty much what they recommend you do for starting out. It's just, let's go to the city, let's look around, let's get equipment. I feel like today that's a 45-minute tutorial just to explain that. So we're going to speed this part up just a bit. Pretty much summarizes what just happened. They're leaving for Mist, and the situation with the airships, and pretty much talks about how Baron is currently the most powerful kingdom through the airships and the collection of the crystals, but a lot of strange stuff is happening with monsters increasing. And then we have the world map, so let's save it real quick. And let's go into town, and we're gonna grab some items really quick. Pretty much I think there's just like cures, cure potions, and I think there's a few tents that are hidden in the water. So let's see what we got. Don't talk to her. I think she either turns you into a pig or a frog or something like that. There's a dancer, which I think it was like in the Japanese version or something, is a bit more risque than the censored American version. I think there's some tents down here. there's another one. There we go. Alright. So we are going to get out of here. Now we have to head west to go towards the Mist Cave, which is our current objective. And we get our first battle. Now in the Super Nintendo version, unfortunately Cecil does not have his original Dark Knight abilities. He just swings. So I guess he's a solid character. He's got a nice health pool and defense and all that, but he does not do anything special. In the Japanese one, he can sacrifice health to do an AoE ability. Now these battles are pretty straightforward, so that is also why I'm fast forwarding, but just to get a little heads up, we need... Alright, he's not leveling up anytime soon. Cecil needs 239, so let's do a battle real quick. Let's see how much XP we get. I think it was 239 we needed. We got 65, alright. So we're gonna grind out one level real quick. Now, as a given with pretty much every Dragoon, the feature thing is jump. So what happens is they launch into the air, and then if attack goes out, they'll dodge it, and then they land for double their attack damage, which I believe the Hero King in Opus 2 for the TCG game has, and it reflects it really well because when he jumps, you can't target him or things fizzle. And then he wrecks something, I think, like double his power. Got a cure. Pretty close. One more. Alright, so Cecil gained a level. Let's save it before we go in here. Actually, let's pop a couple of potions real quick. Let's see. And then we're going to go into the Mist Cave. Misty Cave. Now, I think there's four or five treasure chests in here. We're going to scoop those up, and then we are going to attempt to leave through the other side. A bunch of imps. Let's plow through those. Got a treasure chest here to the right. Now, in this version, and I'm assuming it was to make it much easier, the heal item pretty much cures, or rather heals, any status ailment, where in the other one, the Japanese version, you had like the golden needle, the soft, the same item? I can't remember. It's been a while since I played the Japanese one, but they were just items you needed specifically for like every single status ailment, which really clogged up your inventory, but it also really dumbs it down when you just need one item as like a cure-all. So we're gonna go get our last item, is another potion. Yep. So this part, again, at 7 years old with the music kicking in, I was really worried because I had no idea what was coming up. I had no idea if I was strong enough or anything like that. especially since they give you the option. But yes, we do wish to go on. And then this boss, the Mist Dragon, really is just a test of like, this is how certain mechanics work in this game. Are you paying attention? Which with the active battle system, you can just trigger the Mist Dragon to do the gimmick and then wait it out. For example, if I just wait here, it's going to turn into mist. And if you attack now, it counterattacks you pretty damn hard, so we're just going to wait it out. And then we just go back to beating down on it. Should be turning into mist soon. There it goes. You're gonna wait it out. I mean, the game even says get ready to fight, so that kind of helps you if you're new. And should be running out of health fairly soon. There we go. So 200, and it wasn't even called Gil. I just remembered that's GP, which I'm assuming was like gold pieces or Gil pieces, or I don't know. But and 350 XP. So Kane gets his level, and Cecil's probably close to getting his next one. So with that done, we move on. And we are approaching Mist. Let's get some Sandman done. These guys actually give pretty decent XP for this area, for this level range, and they're pretty simple. What do we get? 2 hills, okay. So, there's no boss fight here, but we will save, because this is a pretty significant event. Alright, let's see what we had to deliver. This is where we first meet the bomb monster, which basically incinerates the town. Now you have this scene with the girl who is Rydia, a really awesome character in the Final Fantasy series, but the concept of immediately finding out that you essentially just killed her mother again, 7 years old, there wasn't concepts like this in games I had played before, so it was pretty crazy seeing characters dying, or the whole concept around that. So essentially you learn that this is a village full of casters that are known as summoners, and that was the whole deal with the Mist Dragon. And apparently the king was not very fond of them. So I'm kind of going through this pretty quick, but basically Cecil's kind of had enough of Baron's nonsense and said that he renounces the kingdom and he's not going to fight for them anymore, and Kain is going to support him through that. So the plan is they're going to go on a quest, gather the other countries, and let them know that they need to unite against Baron. But first they have to get Rosa. Now, in this battle, she uses her signature summon, Titan, who's, you know, huge avatar, primal summon, whatever you will, through Final Fantasy, and on her Opus 2 card, she does exactly that. She summons Titan to do damage against you. And with that, the game just took a big turn of events. I always liked this waking up effect, like the eyes squinting or rubbing your eyes thing. I think this is where he says, "I'm all alone." Or no, that's later on, but Cain has left under mysterious circumstances, so right now I think it's just Cecil, so let's check his status. 410. So what we are going to do is we're going to get him one level. Not only does this just get a little edge on the game because you're keeping up, it also gives us a bit of money, which we'll need for mainly armor. So that's a nice chunk of XP. We might stay here for a couple levels. Now these Sandpedes, which, nice name there. I think if you leave them alone for long enough, they do Earthquake. But other than that, they don't really do much. I see Cecil gained a level, so let's see what he needs now. 13, 16. Let's get one more. Run through this. Now, as you can see, just like plowing through these monsters, the Super Nintendo original version is pretty easy. I mean, you kind of need to guide your party still in the right direction as far as combat goes, but I mean, that's all I can do. I can only auto attack, but it's doing the job. Yeah, if I wasn't doing fast forward, this would probably get extremely boring really quick, and there really isn't much to say with these fights since I'm just auto attacking. Alright, so we got our extra level. We are gonna go heal up. That's good enough. Save. Let's see, 40 minutes in, not bad. Now, Rydia is pretty injured from the encounter with Titan. So we're gonna go into the inn, drop her off. Now here's probably the first indication of that Rydia will join you. Although we're not quite sure yet. There's that Baron music. Might as well be the Imperial March music from Star Wars. Now, I completely forgot. They're not even called summoners in this, they're called callers, although the village you go to later in the underground, I believe is called the Summoners Village? I don't remember. Well, the callers sound pretty cool. So we have kind of like a mini boss fight here, and straight up you're just whooping on them. But something I like to do is, since the officer retreats if you kill all the soldiers, you knock out 2 of them, and then this takes, it was like 4 to 5 attacks for the officer, but he gives you a large chunk of XP if you take him out. which isn't that hard as you can see. This goes 5. Nah, he's got more health than that. There he goes. And I think he just panics, does he? Yeah. Or he doesn't even panic, he kills himself. I guess Cecil's that scary. Yeah, I mean, almost 1,000 XP for that. If you don't kill the officer, I think you get something like 400. So it's a pretty nice way to get some bonus XP. So she is a caller, but she also has limited white magic and black magic. So she's pretty handy, although as soon as you get her, she's like made of glass. Like one good hit and she's down. So we need to gear her up, and then we need to just knock out a few levels for her. Let's see. What do we got? What does she got right off the bat? The rod, okay. So let's get out of here. Did I miss some items? No. Don't remember. Let's go in here. Now, if it's, I'm trying to think. This game doesn't tell you if it's better or not. I forgot about that. When they're reacting like that, that just means that they can equip it. Does she have a leather chest? Yes, she does. Alright, so she's got everything she needs, and I think in the next dungeon we get better gear for them anyway. Actually, something... Let's see, do they have a staff in here? Yes, they do. Don't need it. So we're going to pick up a few potions, and then we are going to get going. Don't block me off, old lady. Don't block me off, old lady. Get out of the way. Okay, thank you. And 110. Alright. Let's sort all our nonsense out. And we're off. Alright, so let's see. First thing we gotta do is we need to move her to the back row so that she takes half damage from physical attacks, because as you can see at level 1 with 30 health she is going to get like truck stopped as soon as she gets hit. So let's put her there and let's grind a few levels. And if something bad happens we just go to the end. It's like I don't know, it's like 10 GP or something like that. And she's gonna gain her basic elemental wheel of spells. I think she gets everything but fire right now, which you learn later in the story that she is traumatized by fire because of the scene that happened earlier. So she gets everything but that. Rods and staves in this, if you use them as items, they either cast spells or they do projectile damage. She doesn't even have a cure yet. Alright. And she just on cure, so let's get that going for her. And we'll go to the end before we head to the next dungeon just so that she has her MP back. Let's get all these out. Get another level. Sight's a pretty cool ability. I doubt anyone really ever used it, but if you cast it on the world map, it kind of zooms out so you can go, oh, I need to go here. Oh, this vehicle's over there where I left it and missed it. You can also do it on the airship once you get it, and it lets you see the entire world, so you can plot out a course. Pretty low, that's alright. Get another level. I also believe she already has Chocobo as a summon. Yep. Okay. So she needs... Yeah, she's still leveling really fast, so... A few more. 120. Let's see what she needs now. 182, okay. So let's get her, let's wrap that up for her. What does she need now? Oh, 62, okay, we're still there. Let's run through those guys. Probably like very little XP 40. Alright. Level 7. Alright, 369. We're gonna get her one more level, go to the inn. So she's still pretty weak, but at least now she can take a hit without eating the floor, so... There we go. That should do for now, so let's go. Got a little bit extra money, so I'm at like 2.5 grand now. 50 GP. Let's take a look up here. Don't think I missed anything. Usually on the shelves and stuff you can get elixirs or potions or whatever, but those are out of reach right now. So we're gonna save it. And we are gonna head north. And yeah, the random counters in this game are fairly high, but that does, as long as you don't always run away, it does keep your levels and your income pretty stabilized. Alright, so we're going to the east. Let's do one last fight. Alright, so let's save it, and I'm going to end this video right here, and we're just going to continue on to the next video where we will enter the cave and see what new characters await us. So, thanks for watching.